In recent years, NVIDIA has been operating like it's using a cheat code. Market capitalization has shattered the $4 trillion mark, and it holds an 86% market share. If you had bought their stock 5 years ago, you'd probably be retired by now. On the surface, NVIDIA is the undisputed overlord of AI chips. However, hidden at the end of this road lies a massive crisis, and Jensen Huang knows it better than anyone. Fast forward to early 2026. The AI chip market has effectively split into two sectors. The first is training. Simply put, this is teaching AI models. In this arena, NVIDIA holds a staggering 86% market share, a total monopoly. The second market is inference. What is inference? Every time you ask ChatGPT a question and it searches, summarizes, and answers you, every step in that process is inference. Over the past few years, everyone was frantically training models. The more GPUs used, the better the model. So NVIDIA made a fortune. But by 2030, 75% of AI computing demand will come from inference. Here lies the problem. While NVIDIA's GPUs are powerful, using them for inference is like driving a Ferrari to deliver Uber Eats. It's overkill and cost-prohibitive. Using NVIDIA GPUs for inference is a money-losing proposition. Jensen Huang's biggest clients obviously know this. They need to make a profit too. Consequently, giants like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft are all building their own custom chips, ASICs. Yes, Jensen's customers are one by one turning into his competitors. If the future market is inference and using ASICs is cheaper than using GPUs, NVIDIA's market share could be compressed to 45% by 2027. The bigger the market grows, the smaller NVIDIA's slice becomes. By 2030, NVIDIA's market share could shrink to just 22.5%. Looking at his strategy, you can see Jensen isn't just sitting idle. He's working hard to expand his client base. The AI factory concept you keep hearing him mention is essentially a massive bundling model, moving from selling chips to selling server racks, and eventually selling entire data centers in one go. Jensen even took a page out of Apple's playbook, prepaying $45 billion to book the majority of SK Hynix and Micron's HBM, high bandwidth memory, capacity for 2026. But even with all this, Jensen, who currently faces a 2-year backlog between order and delivery, is more anxious than anyone. Then, the big event happened. On December 24, 2025, while everyone was preparing for Christmas, Jensen Huang suddenly announced the acquisition of the technology and talent of AI chip company Groq for $20 billion. Before jumping to conclusions, to understand why this deal is worth $20 billion, we first need to look at the background of the deal's central figure, Jonathan Ross. Unlike many Silicon Valley founders who start as coders, Ross has a background in hardcore mathematics. He came from the Current Institute of Mathematical Sciences at NYU, the top-ranked applied math program in the U.S. In 2014, while pursuing his PhD, he was poached by Google to join their New York office, working on the deepest layers of software infrastructure. One day at lunch, Ross heard the voice search team complaining that even Google's computing resources couldn't handle their demands. He suggested that a systolic array architecture might solve the problem. This new design received strong support from his big boss, Jeff Dean, who immediately brought in legendary chip architect Norm Juppy to lead the team. In just 15 months, they completed the design, manufacturing, and deployment of the first-generation TPU. As followers of our channel know, this was the very TPU that AlphaGo used to defeat Lee Sedol in 2016. However, Despite the TPU's massive success within Google, Ross felt the big company's lengthy approval processes made hardware iteration too slow. Furthermore, he believed the world needed the TPU's extreme efficiency, but Google had no intention of opening it to external clients. So, he decided to quit. Along with another Google engineer, Douglas Whiteman, he co-founded Groq. Over the next year and a half, they poached 8 more people from Google's original TPU team. Groq was thus known in the industry as the direct heir of the TPU. For years, Groq remained low profile, often viewed as a minor player. But when ChatGPT exploded onto the scene in 2023, Groq was the only company in the world with inference speeds 10 times faster than GPUs. In real-world tests, an inference task that took a GPU 2 minutes could be finished by an LPU, language processing unit, in under 6 seconds. Additionally, the LPU perfectly sidesteps the bottlenecks of TSMC's CoWoS packaging and the HBM shortage. The LPU architecture requires neither of these scarce resources. If a customer places an order, Groq can deliver within 6 months. Now you see why Jensen Huang had to secure this deal. It is essentially NVIDIA's protective talisman for the inference market. A strategic masterstroke. To avoid antitrust investigations, Jensen structured the deal in a very specific way. 5 years ago, NVIDIA wanted to acquire ARM, but was dragged through reviews by US, UK, and EU regulators for 2 years until the deal collapsed. Given NVIDIA's current market dominance, a direct acquisition would certainly invite trouble. So, Jensen changed his approach. NVIDIA did not buy the company Groq. He bought a non-exclusive technology license and the core team. This included CEO Jonathan Ross, President Sunny Madra, and a group of core executives who all moved to NVIDIA. And Groq, the company? It's still there. It just operates under a new CEO, at least on the surface. In this way, the entire deal went from announcement to completion in just a few days. This is why Jensen Huang can loudly proclaim, "I didn't acquire any company." Let's look at how this $20 billion investment instantly reshuffled the industry's power map. First, OpenAI. For NVIDIA's clients, this is a double-edged sword. The upside is a one-stop shop. GPUs for training and LPUs for inference, all from NVIDIA. The LPU architecture is more energy efficient, making inference faster and cheaper in the long run. The scary part? Jensen now controls both ends, training and inference. It just became much harder for OpenAI to escape the NVIDIA ecosystem. The NVIDIA tax will only get higher. Second, AMD. Lisa Su's MI300 series was positioned specifically to attack the inference market. Now, NVIDIA has directly bought the strongest technology and talent in the ASIC field. Jensen has effectively snatched the King of Inference Value title right out of AMD's hands. The gap between Lisa Su and her cousin just widened significantly. Finally, Google. Google's TPU and Groq's LPU are cut from the same cloth. But the LPU was redesigned specifically for the inference market and is several times faster than the TPU. Jensen is essentially telling Google, "I have what you have, and mine is faster than yours." He did this because he always feels he is standing on a precipice. As he mentioned in an interview, "You know that saying, 'we are 30 days from going out of business'? I've used that for 33 years. Even though we are now one of the largest companies on Earth, that feeling hasn't changed. I wake up every morning with it." That is why only he would execute such a critical transaction on Christmas Eve, when everyone else was on holiday. It is very hard to beat a person like that.